Hello again, everyone. I'm back with another video. I just want to show you one of my other all-time great comic book artists, John Romita Jr. Him and Roger Stern had a great run on Amazing Spider-Man in the 80s, and to me that's the second best run after Lee and Ditko. It's just so good, from the story to the line work of John Romita Jr. He took his father's version of Spider-Man and stylized it a little further, just a little further. And let me just show you. I got this saved at a certain page, and just to show his Spider-Man. I just love his Spider-Man. I think he took his father's version, that perfect version of Spider-Man, that the symmetry around the suit, it looks like a cylinder, the web, the way it goes around the body, the forearms, the fingers, everything. And then the line work, especially on the face, because if you look at it, it's not obvious, but that line right there suggests where the nose is, that line right there suggests where the mouth is, so it gives it a slight human look on there. And I got spoiled to the point where I thought, if it wasn't there, artists who didn't do that, it looked wrong, it looked off. And he used to piss me off, but that's being an artist. Maybe when I was younger, I was like, damn, it's just something about when you get this great innovation from a great artist like John Romita, who took, Ditko's brilliant design and took it further. He just took it further. Now, again, those first 38 issues, 3 annuals, to me, that's Spider-Man. That is the Spider-Man. If you want to know Spider-Man, you read those. And then you can get the second best, which is Roger Stern and John Romita Jr.'s run. From issue 226 to 250. That's what it was, issue 226 to 250. And unfortunately, John Romita Jr. seemed to have a different inker every single issue. It was a little annoying because he had some inkers who were really wrong for him, like Jim Mooney, very loose, a little too loose with the line work. John Romita Sr. inked 2 issues over his son, which were great. And Dan Green, who ended up inking his X-Men comics, John Romita Jr., he inked a few also, and they were standouts. Something about Dan Green, I don't know, I think he's a painter, he's an artist himself, and he was able to bring that real brushwork, that beautiful brushwork, and just get the most out of the pencils that John Romita Jr. was laying down. So let me just leave this here for now. And when I mentioned the mask, right, and what it means, I'm going to just try to draw what I mean to show you instead of just tell you. And I think you'll have a better idea of what I mean. So I'm going to just make a quick loose drawing, simple drawing of Peter Parker's head. And again, that whole thing of John Romita Sr. take it over Spider-Man, which he was reluctant to do because he was loving drawing Daredevil. But Ditko just got up and left, and it's still somewhat of a mystery, but we have our ideas about why he left Spider-Man. I can go on about those maybe at another video, a certain point. But let me just draw this quick general idea of Peter Parker's face. And then let me add what I'm talking about when it comes to the mask. So that's Peter Parker's face, right? And then on top of that, I'll draw the Spider-Man mask with the line work that I just mentioned. So here, the eyes, and John Romita Jr. took his father's design, made the eyes, the white of the eyes, a little bigger than his father used to, which I really appreciate. It was just a little different. He gave his own twist on his father's redesign. That line right there, it's always this line here, and it always comes around there. But then what John Romita Sr. did was that the line for the nose is there, line for the mouth is there. And again, it gives it this human look. And if you notice also, it's like a circle there and a circle there. And it just fits. It just fits beautifully. And I know, some people like the more line work and whatnot. I don't personally like that. I don't like all the business. I really don't. people, they're afraid to stand naked in many ways, but especially in their art, because they're always busying things up, to cover things up, to, as I used to joke about it, more lines on the page, they get more lines at the conventions, right? Detail is what people seem to gravitate towards, I guess the masses, whereas I always like the simplified look. So that's basically what I was talking about. The nose, the mouth, and also let me just show you what I mean about the profile as well. It's a similar thing. Yeah, so, Romita just took this, what was again already a brilliant design for Spider-Man, and took it to another level. And that's also, if you notice, you can see it maybe a little more clearly on the profile in terms of the nose, where it goes exactly there, and it goes exactly where the mouth would be. And, I know John Romita Sr., he was mentioned in a blog post of Jim Shooter's a number of years ago when Jim Shooter had a blog, which I loved being part of. I love Jim Shooter. I know he gets a bad rap by some butthurt artists over the years, but man, did he produce some of the best comics Marvel ever released. From Frank Miller's Daredevil to John Byrne's Fantastic Four, X-Men, to Walt Simonson's Thor, to Roger Stern's run on Spider-Man and the Avengers, to all those comics. You got from I think while he was in there, I believe Art Adams came in with that New Mutants special. So yeah, it's the nose, the mouth there, and it wraps right around the jaw. So he gets again, I know people like to busy stuff off. I don't like that. That's why my favorite comic book artist of all time is Alex Toth, because he basically says cut to the bone, cut the art to the bone. I think he put it like this. He goes, in the first half of my career, I put everything I could in my art. Second half of my career, I try to take everything out. So basically, he says, keep things as simple as you can, right? And then draw the hell out of what's left. That's his ethic, and that's what I like to believe is my way of going about my art as well. So here we are. I just want to show you John Romita Jr. and the little differences between. Okay, so let me just go here actually, because some of the other inkers, let me show you quick one of the other inkers, Jim Mooney, who, I don't know, man, something about him. I guess he's considered some kind of classic artist. He's not. He used to mess up the line work like crazy when it came to Romita Jr. and Sr. Let me show you what I mean. I think there were a few fill-in issues that he drew. Okay, like this. Look at that right there. Look at that line work. He botched the entire face. It looks broken. It's like, where the hell is his nose and jaw? And it's terrible. It's just absolutely terrible. And to show you what I mean, I'll draw another one. Basically, I just, from that angle, it's like you have to make the face on that angle with more structure. That line would be there. That line would be there. The jaw, and again, the nose line, right? The mouth line, right there. And you see what he did is like that entire part of the right side of his face was like, I don't know, just jammed up, broken. And again, you might call me a stickler for that, and I am, but I think it's ridiculous. So, I just want to show what that would be. Let me go, let me just make this quick. Just quick. It's not even a point, I'm better than him and all that. It's not even that. It's just that if you're, a veteran, at least lay down the ink lines that the artist had the decency to lay down with care. Because you look at some of the pencils that John Romita Jr. Had compared to the inks that ended up going, it's like, damn, this guy's really botched his careful placement of the lines. I mean, he made everything look like they were cylinders and very symmetrical in the mask. It was just beautiful. Put a lot of thought and care into that. He took his father's design and stylized it even further. It was absolutely beautiful. And just, one example, like, let's see. I'm going on about this, but to me, it's something important and something that no one else talks about, so maybe you might appreciate it. Like a cylinder, right? Let's say that's a cylinder. Or SpiderMan's forearm. And the way some artists would make the line work, right, would be like this. Limpy and weak looking and technically, quote unquote, correct, right? Because the lines would be going that way. Let's say that's his forearm or his calf or his shin. I don't like that. What should be done is, and again, this is quote unquote incorrect, technically speaking, but it looks so much better because it's like a cylinder, right? Got there, and it just gives it a more three-dimensionality, a more three-dimensional look, as opposed to this, which is technically speaking maybe correct, but that's the way I love it. That's the way I love seeing it, and it's awesome. It's just, that's, again, another innovation that Romita Sr. made and his son took to another level. And I'll show you what I mean later on, because John Romita Jr. really goes off on that. And this is another thing about the back of the head also. Like some artists, right? They draw Spider-Man's head like that, and the lines go there, right? And what they do is they go limp again, like this. And technically speaking, that might be the correct way that it might be happening with the actual suit. But, Romita Jr. and his father understood that it looks better this way. It's a more artistic way to go about it. So let me just quickly show you here that they do it like this. You understand? It seems like it's just, it seems more like a cylinder. It's technically incorrect, but man, it looks 10 times better. Okay, so let me go through this again. A few more things here. So this is the issue that Dan Green was the first issue that he inked of John Romita Jr., as far as I know, anywhere. A few years later, he would ink him over the X-Men, the Uncanny X-Men. So the line work, something about his inks over John Romita Jr. fit perfectly. And he was a brush inker. And he understood how to wield that really, really well. Yeah, so him and John Romita Jr. just had such a beautiful connection there. I mean, look at that even. And again, it has that same idea that I've been telling you about, the nose and the mouth line and the cylindrical look that he has in the web lines. This art's so good. Look at that even right there. That profile of Spider-Man. Beautiful. And those are brush lines that Dan Green laid down. Look at that even. Something about the tightness of the line work. There's no limp line work there. Everything looks tight, strong, like a web. And as I drew before, look at the back of the head. That's technically inaccurate, quote unquote, but it's perfect. It looks perfect. It looks like the lines that are symmetrically wrapped around his head, like a cylinder almost, like it's just fits perfect. And then there's little things here where we add another line at the bottom. I just get pissed off with that. Call it what you will, but I did. I was like, damn. But then, you know, Frank, I don't know how you pronounce it, Jaco, I don't know. But he did this one thing where everything was slightly more limpy, not as tight on the webs. He always imposed that on Romita Sr. and Jr. More circly, not as tight. And by that, I mean this. Just a quick... His was like that. More bouncy. Whereas I prefer nearly straight lines. Nearly straight. Again, it's just it gives a tighter look. And I don't know. I mean, I was spoiled, to be blunt. And whenever I see Front, that's why when Todd McFarlane came to draw Spider-Man, I stopped reading it. And I know it's considered, I guess, blasphemous by some people who love McFarlane. I don't think he's a good artist. I really don't. He even admits it himself. The body that he gave Spider-Man also, for some reason, he gave him a big ass. His body was really awkward. And in the profile, his nose disappeared when he was in the mask. Which again, it's a style choice. It's exaggerated, whatever. I like the way he exaggerated the Hulk though, when he drew the Hulk. So let me go to a few more issues. Again, if you notice that the more slightly gangly webbing there. Let me go to, okay. This is the first issue, I think, that John Romita Sr. inked John Romita Jr. And there's also something here which I can tell you. It's an amazing thing to see this father and son, both legends in my book. I mean, look at that. That's part John Romita Jr., part Senior in one. This is the introduction of Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, the real, female Miss Marvel. I mean, Captain Marvel, not Carol Danvers, who ended up in the movie. And that, again, if you notice it suggests a human face. Line for the nose, line for the mouth that wraps around perfectly. But there was something that Ditko began that didn't continue, not with him and not with others, until an issue here, which I will show you. Ditko began the Spider-Man costume with making it like it was black and red. It was full of black, the dark part, with highlights, small highlights of blue. And then slowly but surely, within a number of issues, it started to lose the black, and it became full blue and red. I don't like that look personally. I don't. And John Romita Sr. throughout his entire run drew it that way, with the light blue and red. It just lacked oomph. It lacked power. So I mentioned that because, I mean, look at this. It's just. It looks, people call it the classic look. I think the classic look is the original, dark blue, if not black, with some blue highlights that Ditko created in that first issue, Amazing Fantasy, in his origin. And so what happens is, within a few issues here, John Romita Jr., let me show you what I mean. Okay, you know what? Also, let me do this. Let me show you, because Romita Sr. inked the issue of the origin, at least, well, not the origin, but the first appearance of the Hobgoblin. This is it. I mean, look at that. That's awesome. Father and son. And it's so funny, they even put John Romita Sr.'s mother, John Romita Jr.'s mother, Roger Stern's scripter, John Romita Jr., John Romita Sr. artist, Virginia Romita, traffic manager. Pretty funny. She worked at Marvel. She's a traffic manager. But look at that. It's pure classic Romita Sr. Peter Parker, with a little modern take that John Romita Jr. was adding, with a little, his hair was a little longer than it was in the 60s when Romita Sr. was drawing it. But also, if you haven't seen, I have this artist edition of Romita Sr.'s SpiderMan comic strip, which was just stunning. And it had, the look that he gave Peter Parker was a little more like this, a little longer hair. And the artwork in there is absolutely beautiful. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Milton Caniff was Romita Sr.'s favorite comic strip artist, if not favorite cartoonist. And that was his, I guess, chance to make a comic strip that Stan Lee wrote and that John Romita Sr. penciled and inked. Most of it he inked, and some you could tell where he didn't. It wasn't just wasn't as good. But Jim Shooter ended up being brought in, I think, as the scripter. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Stan Lee plotted it, and Shooter wrote the script. And those were really, really good, just really good. But I can talk first, man, about this. But that comic strip was fantastic, so check it out if you can. So yeah, here's Romita Sr. and Jr. I mean, look at that, that's pure John Romita Sr. You know, he had such an strong art style that whoever he inked looked better than they ever did. And he also made everyone look like he drew it. Whoever drew it, it still looked like a John Romita Sr. drawing. And every character was better looking. The men were the most handsome. The women were the most beautiful. The villains were, strong looking, bad guys. But even they had like a somewhat of a handsome look. Even the Kingpin, the way Romita drew him, he was almost attractive. It's incredible. So yeah, let me go here and let me just show you quick again. That inker is a little, and also if you notice that, John Romita Jr. wouldn't have drawn the line that low where the mouth looks like it's really low. But again, that's just, I'm a stickler for that, so. Anyway, so you got this one issue here, right? Okay, so here's the issue that Bob Layton inked, which was one of the better inkers they had during this run. And look at that. And if you notice this, right, it's not the full-on light blue version of the costume. There's a little more black in there. It's like half black, half blue, right? And it's pretty cool because by the next issue, you'll see a dramatic change. So here's what I'm talking about. You got, look at this. Look at the work by John Romita Jr. back in the day, in the 80s. Incredible. And he's still doing some good stuff. He's still drawing Amazing Spider-Man right now. He also is drawing the covers to Daredevil, which I can't really buy. I don't care for the stories. But he's the one artist that I still look at because I think he's still doing good work, especially a guy at his age. Still doing it really good work. Guys by his age, usually they've lost their touch, but not him. Look at that. See, Bob Layton took a lot of care with the lines. You could tell here. But again, it's still that light blue look, right? So let me show you quick. So it ends off with this issue, right? He's in that blue and red costume, right? He crash lands, and by the next issue, look at that, wham. You get hit by this dramatic change in the costume where it picks up from, I guess at this point, it was 20-something years later. This is in 83, I believe. 83, yeah. So it was about 20 years later after the first issue of Spider-Man was established with the black and red. So it came back, and it was a choice that I guess John Romita Jr. had decided. They mentioned it, I think, in the letters page at some point. But yeah, look at this. I mean, to me, it's stunning, the difference between this and that. So again, you get to see that version and then this one. And the line work was really, really good here. The inker was really careful to make sure it looked as good as it could. So yeah, look at that. It's beautiful. And then you had opportunity also to see John Romita Sr.'s take on that black costume, which he never actually did. Let me just show you quick. He inks another issue here at some point. Okay, this is another Dan Green issue. I know John Romita Sr. inks another one. I think it's right after this. Okay. So this is another Dan Green inked issue, right? And I mean, look at that. Look at the line work, the cylindrical form, if you notice it. Look at that even. In the in the bottom of the leg, the shin, the calf, the way it wraps around like a cylinder. Beautiful. It takes a lot of thought to do that. It takes more thought than just adding a bunch of, haphazard lines, haphazard webbing there. And yeah, and John Romita Jr. also, if you notice, he gave him long legs and big feet. A little more exaggerated than than his father's version. Look at it also, the cylindrical form. And this one in particular, for some reason, I think Dan Green got that more than the others. This is a big one for me. I mean, look at that. Look at the arm and forearm there. If you notice it, it's like a cylinder again, wrapping around the body. Perfect, beautiful. Love it. Let's see. I'll just show you a few more and then I'll go. But I think here he really, Dan Green, I think, got it. And Romita was just, this was, again, he was a little different than his father. His eyes, the way he drew the eyes, were a little more stylized, right? A little more stylized with that line right there, coming up there, and a little bigger white of the eyes, which is fine by me. I just hate that when it's really too big, the white, and then a lot of lines. So again, the nose, the mouth, perfect, beautiful. And look at this even, the line of work there. Look at her fingers. It's awesome. And here, this is a big one because it's like everything that I've been mentioning is at play here. There, look at that, the cylindrical way, the symmetry is symmetrical. Look at that, going around, because that's the way it would be. The foreshortening, that's the way it would be. Beautiful. And that to me is just so, at least it always jumped out at me. That looks like a man in a Spider-Man suit. The naturalness of the head tilt. And the way, John Romita Sr. really drew like the perfect versions of all these superheroes, and his son got to that point as well. Look at his Iron Man. No one draws Iron Man like John Romita Jr. Nobody. And his thing is great as well. His cap. And then look at this also, just that little natural position that he has, leaning down to talk to the kid. And the line work, again, is just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So I think there's one more issue with John Romita Sr. yet. And then I think that'll be it. So here's an opportunity for John Romita Sr. for the first time in his career to draw the Spider-Man with the heavy blacks on the costume. And that's why, to me, this is the best version of Spider-Man ever, because it's like you got the classic Romita Sr. inks over his son, and you get to see the father ink with that black, the heavy, heavy blacks on the suit, which I absolutely love. And again, look at that. Pure John Romita Sr. No matter who's drawing it. When he drew Peter Parker, it was always his Peter Parker, no matter who was drawing it. And, even when Gil Kane drew it, it was still his. So, I mean, look at that. Look at that work. And the little things like this also, like this, okay? Even the fingers, right? The kind of thought. It just, the lines go that way around it, right? And then the other way around that. It's just beautiful. It's just such care. They really gave a damn. And one thing I want to mention about the comic strip that John Romita Sr. drew for SpiderMan, I mean, look at that. Perfect. Beautiful. The line work, the angle up there, everything is just right. And here, he botched a little himself, Romita Sr., which is interesting. And again, I catch that because it's so perfect at all times. You get the line around the nose, mouth, but whatever. I was going to say, yeah, so he worked on the comic strip for Spider-Man, and he, he was a perfectionist. And I think Jack Kirby and John Buscema were mocking him a little, making fun of him. It's like, come on, you don't got to spend all that for this comic strip. There's only 3 panels a day. But he was, he gave everything he had to those panels, and they were stunningly beautiful. The women in there were gorgeous. Peter Parker looked great. And Spider-Man, of course, always looks great. And then he inked this issue with his son. And then here, I think it was another inker. I forgot his name. What's his name? But look at that. That's the thing that I mentioned before about the line work again. The nose, the mouth, going around the jaw right there. Perfect. And I think that's really about it. Unless, yeah, then Ron Frenz drew this issue. Was it, the webbings was all over the place. All over the place. And again, it looks just wrong in my book. I know I'm a stickler for that, but that's just the way I see it. I was spoiled by Romita. And I love that he did that because it's like, it just looks right. I think, there's one more issue. Yes, one more issue with Dan Green inking it. And John Byrne did this cover. It's pretty good. But look at that. Peter Parker, John Romita Jr.'s Peter Parker was built. He's rock solid. He was lean, no doubt. But he was muscular. Clearly, he looked strong. Even here, the way he drew his body, rock solid. Look at that naturalness. Okay, one thing I want to say. When I say those first 38 issues, there's nobody who drew Spider-Man more spidery than Ditko. I think Paul Smith, the great Paul Smith, who drew Uncanny X-Men for about 10 issues, I think, he said it was like a rubber ball bouncing through the city. And that's what it looked like. It was so freewheeling and wild and weird looking and crazy positions that no one has been able to match that. In a lot of ways, Romita's version was pedestrian in terms of compared to Ditko's movement-wise. I mean, the suit to me is just that's my favorite, the John Romita Sr. design. But the Spider-Man movement, nobody was able to match that. Though nobody was able to do that the way Ditko did. Nobody. I guess it was his creation. He was a little more quirky in that sense. Now, one thing I would have loved to have seen, and if I ever get the opportunity, which I won't. It was one of my dreams when I was younger to write and draw a Spider-Man comic, like a one shot, right? It's not going to happen, but let's just say if it does. Let's just say that fantasy, right? I would love to keep in mind the Ditko movement, but basically the ideal would be, what would John Romita Sr. inks look like on a Ditko Spider-Man comic? That's my perfect version of Spider-Man, because you get the best of both worlds. You get the quirkiness, the incredible poses of Ditko, the energy, the weirdness of it, with the perfect line work of Romita Sr. I would love to try to attempt that one day. If not professionally, for Marvel, of course, maybe on my own in some capacity. And I won't be able to sell it, but I just want to just lay it down and see how it looks. So again, this is Dan Green doing a hell of a job inking over John Romita Jr. Look at that. Again, the line work, beautiful, just stunning. And we'll see a little more of that here when the Hobgoblin, and look at his Hobgoblin, it's fantastic. He's very formidable in this. So Hobgoblin really is a hell of a villain. He's smart as hell, he's dangerous, kills. And so they go at it here, and then just a few things here. This is the last thing here. I mean, look at that even. And it's still consistent. Romita Jr. said, I'm going to still keep it where the lines were. I'm going to maintain where they were. It's like almost like he's a rotoscoper. It's like he's imagining how a person would be with that kind of mask and keeping the integrity of the lines clear to the reader. I appreciate the hell out of that. I know some people just can care less. They want the haphazard lines, but man, to me, it's awesome. And then Klaus Janson inked a few of these comics where he just added his own unnecessary lines there. You notice that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. Completely botched it. I mean, look at the eyes. That's not how John Romita Jr. would draw the eyes. But again, that's me. I'm a stickler for this. But look at that. He stuck to that at least, right? In terms of the foreshortening of the fingers. It's great. And that's awesome too. All right, so I just wanted to share that with you, and I think it's cool as hell. This whole Romita Jr., Romita Sr., that's the perfect look that they had. I think it might have the Marvel, what was it? Well, this is when he got the black costume. That black costume was brilliant. Absolute stunning design. Mike Zeck created that design. I think Rick Leonardi was working on some of those, but it was a Mike Zeck creation. Just beautiful design. you know, if you're going to change his costume, you might as well go completely away from the original. And that's brilliant. The simplicity, it's just beautiful. I mean, look at that. All right, everyone. I just want to share that with you, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Be well.